All you people watching this, we had our 90th anniversary.
There was,
Say it again, things offline.
oh, there was actually a program for each day, parades, assembly of all war veterans. This is actually the original booklet from the dedication. We found some in the basement a number of years ago, and we've been kind of hoarding them ever since.
That's
but
neat.
yeah, they're in perfect condition, most
Can
of
you
them.
pass that
so-
down, Cindy? So we can look at
Pardon?
it? Can you pass it down?
Yeah. Yep.
So this is the day of the
The
dedication.
day of the dedication.
2 days.
1929.
There was 2
Do you
days.
remember that, Lee?
Not personally.
How about you?
But I've been,
Harley?
Just
I
barely.
memorized the program. I didn't study the program.
1920, June the 19th,
You didn't ask us
1929.
if we remembered.
Well,
That's
it was a
good.
great
I guess
day.
that's a compliment.
And they had 7 county commissioners at that time.
That's their picture up there.
Right behind you. Yep.
Yeah, that is them right there. I don't know if they could be all, I guess. Yeah, 7 of them.
Names that you would, Lockhart, Walsh,
Stover.
Sparks, yeah, Stover, those are all kind of familiar names. Stover looks like kind of a character here. This is interesting. This book is in very, very good, looks like it's brand new.
Well, like I said, it was stored in the basement where it was cool and,
It works.
Yeah.
That's what those
Would you
basements.
find one copy or a box full?
found a box. We found a box and, yeah.
All right, this was primarily just for informational purposes,
Yes.
is what this was, and so is number 9.
So was number 9 also, yep.
And that is note July 5th closure of all county offices. July 5th is on a Friday, so you'll celebrate the 4th on the Thursday and then rest up on the
Cover on
5th.
the 5th.
Yep,
And that was by, we
By
always
order of
follow
the
the
governor.
state, yes.
Yeah,
and that's following the state procedures.
which our policy is, that's how our policy is set up at this time.
All right, number 10 on the agenda, did you have anything, Lee, any change orders?
No. not
That's
there.
good news. Let's go to number 11 then. Action to approve claims for payment. What do we have?
Besides payroll, we have one other claim. We'll take these in 2 motions. The first claim is to the city of Watertown for $22,813.17, and that is for the April 911 surcharge
Move to
collections.
approve that.
Motion by Hatton, second by
I'll second.
Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? See none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, next one.
Payroll for the month of June was $548,320.01. Nothing out of the ordinary there.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Van Dusen, second by Hatton. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? See none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right? Is that it?
Yep, that's it for claims.
All right, how about automatic budget supplements, item number 12?
None today.
None today.
Today.
How about 13? We have personnel changes, we have a couple of them.
3 of those, these are all Highway Maintenance 2 employees. Mitch Kalhoff is due an anniversary step increase to step 2, $18.68 per hour. That is his 6 months anniversary increase. Robin Ryder is due a yearly increase to step 7, $21.99 per hour. Jeff Argo, also a step increase to step 4, $19.98 per hour.
Move to approve.
Motion by Hatton, second by Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Travel requests, we have one here from Rick.
Highway Superintendent requests to attend equipment and product demo days. I believe this is in Canton in Lincoln County.
Yep.
Move to approve.
Motion by Waterman, second by...
No, I made the
No,
motion.
Brenda made the motion, I was just
motion by
seconding her
Brenda,
motion.
second by Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. How about old business? Any mature business to bring to the board today? Any old business?
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes, go ahead,
finish
Lee.
up on the we had the CCJAC meeting Thursday night. It was mostly discussion about a number of items, but mostly things not related to infrastructure process. Working on the process, kind of what we were talking about in the sheriff's report. Couple things that we kind of, I guess the bugs we put in our ear were, trying to understand what's going on with the data. We talked a little bit about the recent decrease in the average daily population. Something else to be thinking about is, we talked about doing studies that were related to infrastructure. We did that before the last time we went to the people with a vote on whether or not to build a new jail. But the problem with that, that's good for what it is, but it doesn't take into account the whole process that we're talking about. So something to think about is, do we need, as we study the process, dealing with, prosecutor, defense attorneys, courts, law enforcement, all the things that go together in the system, both for this, in terms of, how do you manage that big caseload, and then how do you hopefully reduce the jail population, or at least control it. And as Commissioner Hanton was noting, that sometimes it's kind of a matter of making sure that the people in the jail are the ones that are supposed to be there. So looking at how do we figure that piece out. So we talked about the possibility of another study to look at that. So it's a systemic kind of thing. So I'm doing some research on that, seeing what that would be like, what it would cost. Maybe it's something we can figure out on our own, but it's such a complicated thing. I kind of wonder if we can do that. So anyway, that was kind of, you were there, Commissioner Mangus. I don't know if you wanted to.
No, I think you did a good job of explaining that. But
okay, thank you. So I'm trying to think if there's any other big stuff that, and then we've talked a little bit about the resolution on sales tax to build county infrastructure. So you'll have a copy of just kind of a bulletized, a shortened summary version of what a resolution might look like. And so what has to, if a county has a legislative idea, the way that the County Commissioners Association works in the state is you do up a resolution. So this is kind of a summary of the information that would be in a formal resolution, and we can pass that as a county recommendation too. And so basically what we're doing is recommending that the County Commissioners Association take up the cause, but that's kind of where it stands now. And the basic idea is, don't just talk in terms of just the justice infrastructure. That's expensive and it's important, obviously, but so that it benefits as many counties as possible. Just reflect what's in statute already. Counties build infrastructure with property tax. How about a possibility of voter-approved sales tax? Is kind of the idea, and you want to do that if it saves money. So the idea is to minimize the cost when you have to do this thing. So this adds another option. So to the kind of the menu of how you might fund construction of infrastructure. And
Have you submitted that then to the association?
no, I need to put this is just so you guys can see it right now. So I need to put it in the. Before we do that, though, we need to.
Because the deadline is the 31st
End of July.
July.
So I think we have time to do that. And then been talking with some legislators about it too. So, and I think at least I think there's a legislator that's willing to sponsor at least in the House. So anyway.
Lee, has the membership of your committee changed? Is there any new members on your committee? Or?
No, I think the last new member was Mr. Kranz. So he's one of the community members. But we may be taking a look at some, just saying, and I know it, but I did, thank you for mentioning that. What I did leave out was, what I forgot to mention, I should say, on the CCJAC is, we're starting to talk things that aren't infrastructure. So, and the way the charter of the CCJAC reads, it's more or less an infrastructure committee. So do we want to add a bit to the charter to say, would you please work to facilitate? I'm not turned on. Okay. Would you please we could have the CC Jack work as kind of a coordinating thing. So I think it's probably good at least to keep track of all the things that are going on. So we got some information from Angela Hyde that she provided that we shared during the meeting about the transitional housing program, for example. So as we do different things, and there are other things like the court with their release and their arrest and release procedures, I mean, those are helpful things to keep track of, so that as time goes by, we're trying to work the entire system, which is really more process than infrastructure. We keep track of that. We maybe facilitate some better cooperation and coordination. At times, it might be need to make a recommendation either to us as a county or to have a dialogue with the court, for example. So the idea, and this was kind of an open item. It wasn't really on the agenda, but it's something that it kind of occurred to me that as we're talking about more process and infrastructure, it might be good to add that to the charter of the CCJAC, it's kind of a coordinating function, especially while we're not as focused on the building right now. So that we're not losing track of the different efforts, and there's better coordination between them. So it'd be, and I don't think it would be that intensive a job, but it's kind of every, a few times a year, get together, go over the things that are going on in the world of criminal justice.
I think the key thing there are the committee members comfortable in going that direction. When originally they came on, basically looking at.
And we'd have to go back
order.
And that's a good point. And judging by the discussion, I thought it was I kind of enjoy the discussion because it's interesting and it can really matter. I think that's so. We definitely have to ask that question. So.
Right, and I would say most of them. I mean, when we're talking processes, another word that we've also used, which is the same as alternatives, basically.
Yeah.
And so, in that effort also with the transitional housing, we started out with just drug court members that would be eligible to be part of that, and we have now expanded that to the lower level felonies if they have a CSO. Right. So that's just kind of an update on.
And I think a lot of these committees and stuff will evolve over time as you recognize the need to branch out and expand, as you know. And I think that the CCJAC committee we had good discussion at that meeting, and I think everybody's on board. So.
Well, so I think it's important, though, for us as commissioners to add something to the charter and recognize it, so that so that we're operating with instructions and we don't get off track. And so that maybe in the next few meetings, so over the next month, we'll come up with some points to an additional paragraph or a bullet or something to add to the charter to reflect that.
But why, if that's mainly for infrastructure? If you have all these other things going on, why do you feel the need then that would have to fall under that?
It wouldn't. I mean, you could create another coordinating committee. It just already exists, and we kind of talk about it anyway. So it would save the trouble of having to constitute another committee. So, but you could do.
You might get committed out, though.
Yeah, but I mean, there are another name for this kind of committee you see done in other counties is called a criminal justice coordinating council or committee. Sometimes they call it we probably should have called the CCJAC like a facilities committee, but I'm guilty of the one who came up with the name advisory committee. So, I don't want to talk about guilty and criminal justice maybe, but anyway.
All right, thank you, Lee. Anything else? Anything else?
One other thing, Mr. Chairman, this is kind of on the open side. I'll wait for new business.
That's nothing else for new business. Let's go to the open then. Go ahead, Lee.
Just been as a result of the conference I attended at the end of May. It was on basically IT, computer, data related stuff for local jurisdictions. It was called the Code for America Conference. It was a workshop within that conference on data driven justice. And we've talked about a thing called Open Lattice in the past. So trying to work there's some just to let everybody know, I'm kind of researching that topic with the sheriff. Open Lattice there's some data gathering thing, so aspects to it, but there's also some other more significant process things that are that are involved with it that we need to have a conversation about. And so I'm starting to talk to, the state's attorney, and I still need to touch base with the judges, but
This is going to lead to more pie charts for us?
it might, I might, so.
Open
but-
lattice, it's a good, I
Oh, it's a
mean,
good-
it's very good
it's a
because
good
it's
thing.
a way of tracking data that Minnehaha has implemented through Aaron. This is how I learned about it, was at NACO, and it will be a good
Yeah,
step.
the big piece of it, though, at least in South Dakota, so right now Minnehaha and Pennington County are beginning to use Open Lattice, but essentially what Open Lattice is doing, it's the name of a software company, and what they do is figure out how to interface with the data that's in the jail systems and the court systems so that they can generate a thing called a public safety assessment. And the public safety assessment is basically, we do these risk assessment tools for juveniles right now. When you bring somebody when you bring a juvenile to the jail, you basically say, what's the risk is that the juvenile is going to reoffend, what's the risk that they're not going to appear, mostly reoffense, and the risk to public safety is the key thing with the juvenile. With the public safety assessment, that would apply to adults, and the big things there are the risk to reoffend, new criminal activity, and failure to appear in court. And the idea there is if the person is really high risk, well, you probably don't, eventually what you want to get to is a point where you just say that person goes to jail or they don't, based purely on risk. And so that could, in general, it's probably can be proper control, but the thing is that there's a lot of things involved in adopting something like that. And it gives, kind of like the scoring on the risk assessment for the juveniles, it gives us, a very objective score about how you incarcerate, don't incarcerate, alternative or whatever. This would be kind of similar to that, and that's the focus of where the data comes from in Open Lattice. The good thing about that would be that it wouldn't be too much of a burden on the jail because it's directly connected to the court and the jail data. But you pay, the grant that Minnehaha and Pennington got is paying the Open Lattice company to develop that connectivity between, their software and the data that's in the jail and the court.
That's always the problem with, you get so much data, but you got to get it to the right people, and you don't have to realize how to use it.
Well, and the thing is we may be eligible to apply for that same grant if we figure out that process.
You still have to pay, but there are other, Now, so I'm researching that. So the Open Lattice side of it is one thing. Then there's also the providers of the jail software in particular that we're going to have to, they have to agree to do that for our county as well. And so, they're a vendor. So.
Thank you, Lee. Anything else for you?
Well, this afternoon, Milo sent us all an email last week about the Reno Dry will be here this afternoon at 1 p.m. He has included this in his 2020 budget, but I think there could be a quorum of commissioners, and I think it would be important that there be a quorum of commissioners to meet with this individual and get a little more information on this. So
That was for the basement.
the basement,
Yeah.
the Reno Dry base, the rising damp he's in Grant County this morning. He'll be here at 1 p.m. So I just thought I'd make
That's just
mention
kind of a meeting. It's not the full up pitch, I don't think, is it? Or is?
I don't know what it's going to be, but I think we need to gather some information about this.
Yeah, it's a spending project. That's for sure. Anything else we open? Anything? All right, I do not have any requests.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Executive session, I have a motion by Hatton to adjourn, a second by
I'll second.
Van Dusen. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris. See ya.